Mind Gap Podcast.
Hey everybody, welcome to Mind Gap Podcast. I'm Doug, and Justin is out and about doing stuff. In fact, he won't be here for this week's episode, and he won't be here for next week's episode because he's actually doing a film shoot. So shout out to him for living large and doing that sort of stuff. So in the meantime, I've reached out to some very special people to fill in and be a guest host, and one of that is none other than the very talented, the very funny, and the very awesome Mr. Noah Reno. Noah, welcome back.
Hi, it's me. I'm back.
You know, I was checking the episodes, and the last time you were on here was episode 500.
That checks out.
Yeah.
Which was about 8 months ago or something like that.
Something like that. Yeah. Right around 4th of July.
6 months ago.
Yeah. So welcome back. I was like, man, I probably had him on too soon. And I look back, you're like, damn,
that's a
time
good
has passed.
Fun episode, though. I enjoyed it.
Very fun. Super fun. It was really cool. I had oily, fiery poops after that, and it was worth it. You know,
I had to drive home
right.
the 9 hours or so from Michigan, and it was horrible. I mean, that 9 hours turned to nearly 11, but I got home.
I remember, I think it was either later that day or the next day, I pooped. And there was like some residual oil on there, and like the rim of my butthole was like, ah! And I was like, oh, I don't like this. I don't like this. This isn't good. This is not enjoyable at all. In case anyone doesn't know, episode 500, we did the hot ones challenge, and yeah, I should probably give some context for why I was having hot oily poops. But yeah, we did the hot ones challenge, and yeah, you know, we did the gauntlet, and then at the other end of it was, you know, it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be as far as like, you know, aftermath, but there was definitely some moments where I was like, oh, I don't like that at all.
I think the interview itself was fun, but like the eating the wings was not fun at all. Not only because some of them were spicy, but none of them tasted particularly good.
I will disagree. I did take one
except
of the bottles
for
home.
The prickly pear. I thought it was good.
I think that's the one I took home. Yeah, I took that one home, and I used that on my eggs, and it was like delicious. But a lot of them were just very vinegar forward, and they weren't that great. So it was like, do you like hot for the sake of hot? Well, we got you. And I was like, all right, cool.
That's the game.
I'm going to be throwing these out. That's cool. Nobody wants this. So, but before we get into anything, I have, well, first of all, in case you don't know, Justin and I recommended this when episode 1 came out, but Dragon Ball Abridged is done by none other than Mr. Noah here. And we shouted it out then, and I'm shouting it out now. Go check that out, because episode 2 is sprinting right towards us right now. It's a wall, and we're going to run right into it, which is
I'm very excited. Very, very excited.
Well, so first of all, what is Dragon Ball Abridged, and give anyone who's not familiar with this kind of stuff, give them the 30 to 60 second spiel.
Dragon Ball is an anime that came out many, many years ago, and abridging something on YouTube, kind of harkening back to the old YouTube days, say like a YouTube poop of a thing, just cutting it down to super short and making it just hectic, chaotic, goofy, crazy nonsense. That then has adapted into the abridging scene, where you take an anime, you shorten it down a bunch, and you just load it up with jokes, meta humor, goofy gags, redoing animation, that kind of stuff. And I am doing that with the original Dragon Ball series. And episode 2, as you said, is right around the corner, coming out Friday, February 13th.
That's exciting. Right for Valentine's Day.
Right there for Valentine's Day.
It's perfect. That's great. And if people wanted to check out episode 1 and get ready for episode 2, where can they watch that?
Gunchpot on YouTube.
Gunchpot on
That's
YouTube.
That's Gunch, spelled like Gunch, and pot like the weed.
There you go. Like the flower. That's super exciting. I'm really pumped for episode 2. I think it's going to be great. I just love what you've done with it. It's very entertaining. It's very funny. So, and full disclosure, I did a small voice in the first episode, and I had a good time with it. So,
and more
silly.
probably
and more
in the future
down the road. Yeah. So, which I'm looking forward to. So check it out, gang. Gunchpot on YouTube. It's totally worth it. All right. So Gunch, I have been dabbling in Reddit a little bit, just reading, lurking, that sort of stuff. And it's always fun just to kind of get an idea of like, what's the human experience out there and what are people dealing with? And then kind of like, it scratches a practical dog itch in a lot of ways. But I came across a scenario that I wanted to run by you to kind of get your reaction and kind of like, what would you do in this situation? So I want you to put yourself back in your roommate days. All right. You are sharing a space with many, maybe there's at least one other roommate you're sharing a living space with. And you've been sharing this space with them for 2 years. And you're eating dinner, enjoying yourself. You know, maybe you're having some ramen, or maybe you're having some gumbo. Who knows? Whatever you're in the mood for as you're kind of dining. And as you go and you finish up and you go to put your dishes away, you open up the dishes and your roommate goes, "Oh, let me clean these out here. These are clean." And as he opens it up, he starts pulling out dishes and stuff. And then you realize he pulls out like a dildo and sets it up on the countertop. And you realize that he has cleaned his sex toy with the other dishes and stuff in the dishwasher. What would you do in that situation?
Okay. That's crazy. I didn't think that that's where that was going to go. This is interesting.
Yeah.
I tried to put myself in this person's shoes, but when I lived with other people, I did not have a dishwasher. So up until I moved in with my now wife, neither of us had a dishwasher.
Yeah.
At least I didn't, but definitely me. So I was hand washing dishes all throughout my college years. So I was like so ready to not be able to relate to this at all. And now I really don't. But I want to. I mean, I'd be interested to live with a person who would be comfortable doing something like that, because I respect that, though I do think that it is absolutely disgusting. Okay. And because, though I guess generally speaking, lube, human fluids, things like that are food safe, and dishwashers get extremely hot. So they kill bacteria, they break things down. So like, I understand where they're coming from. Seems like the thing that you would do. I think I would prefer that they talk to me about it first. I say, "Hey man, I think I would genuinely have a normal conversation with the person about it. Like, I wouldn't freak out. But I would be like, okay, here's the deal. Just don't do it with other dishes. Like, at least just like
you're
run
cool with it being in the
own.
Dishwasher though.
I think I am.
Yeah. You said that at like 40%. You're like, I think I am.
People have needs, and sometimes you need to clean your sex toys, and that genuinely seems like a pretty like legitimate way to do it. But I wouldn't do it alongside other food, and maybe like clean out the filter too afterwards, just to make sure nothing got trapped down in there.
Right. Because here's the thing, like you're assuming that the filter gets cleaned. So, because listen,
I'm cleaning,
and I don't know
filter.
what it is. And listen, I don't know. I'm trying to wrap my head around this too, because like food, right? You rinse everything off, like food, grease, stuff like that. You're like, that's okay, because that's on that stuff. But when you're like, oh my God, where has this thing been? You know what I mean? If it's been in someone's butt, it's like, I don't want that getting washed around. It's like, what if someone was like, yeah, man, I'm just gonna wash my shoes in the dishwasher? You'd be like, no, I don't think we should do that. Like that means that like that stuff kind of circulates through. And
I think for me, the difference between shoes and a dildo is that dirt isn't edible. Mud and things like that you're not meant to eat, and also doesn't break down as good. Yeah, like it's possible that there could be fecal matters on this thing, but I think that is better. Not that I'm okay. And full disclosure,
keep going. Hold on.
Not that I'm licking toilet bowls, but if I could run the dishwasher, I could run my toilet through the dishwasher. I would 100% do that, because that's way better than just wiping it down with a Clorox wipe and like scrubbing the inside of the bowl cold. Like that's it. Heat kills. Like heat is good for cleaning things for a reason.
It is,
and it gets so hot that of course not only can the bacteria not survive, but with the soap and the pressure of the water, everything gets clean. It all goes to the same place at the end of the day. But again, I don't want it to be at the same time as other dishes, because I mean I've done a load of dishes and there's still been rice in a bowl, or there's still like, so like there's
Yeah.
stuff like that I don't want
Yeah.
I don't want that happening. But if
Yeah,
you just
right.
run it on its own, I think I could be okay.
That's interesting. That's so cool. Because really what I think this is a classic case of like, because what you start to realize is that this person's been doing this for 2 years, the whole 2 years. they've been living
Yes.
there. And you're like,
which is a problem.
oh no. Wait, have you? And this is a classic case of just like, yeah, man, this is just what I do. And they don't think there's anything weird about it. And you're like, uh-oh.
Why didn't you tell me?
Yeah. And yeah, that's probably one of the best and worst things about living with people after you've lived at home for so long, and you go and you realize like, oh yeah, this is
People live
totally
different
normal.
ways.
And then you meet people and they're like, what you're doing is not totally normal. And I'm like, really? Like, okay. Like the classic poop knife. Have you heard that story?
Indeed.
For those who haven't, there's a guy who apparently the family just took such gnarly shits, such thick, girthy shits, that they literally had a knife that they would use because the poop would lay across the bowl in a way that it wouldn't flush. So they'd like, can you go get me the poop
Break it
knife?
down.
And they would like cut it in half. And this guy did this while he was buying weed at his dealer's place. He took a shit and he's like, hey man, could you give me your poop knife? And the guy's like, what?
What are you talking about?
He's like, yeah, the poop knife. He described it, and they like literally the music stopped and everything. And everyone's like, you want what? He's like, yeah, the poop knife. And it's like, he realized then in his early 20s that his family's the only one that has a poop knife.
Yeah.
So,
It's just, how else do you clean it? Because you want to make sure that there's nothing on it.
Mhm.
Like, and you can't just go out back and hose it down.
I mean, I suppose if you had your own separate sink, like your own bathroom, probably I think that would be the place to do it, in your own area over there. Versus, I just feel like a dishwasher is like, I don't know, man. Like,
it is a communal place.
It's a communal place, man. And I listen, I know the dishwasher can get pretty hot, but is it hot enough to kill all the things that you need it to so that doesn't swirl around with the rest of your dishes? I don't know. But
yeah, I don't know. I mean, what am I worried about? Right? Is mostly feces would be, I think, my biggest concern, because I'm thinking cum and vaginal juices
Mhm.
are probably coming off pretty easy with just some light hot water.
Mhm.
So that kind of like the normal everyday run of the mill human body fluids, I'm not so worried about, but I think it would probably be fecal matter. And I'm just not a scientist like that. I don't know. I know that it can kill salmonella. That
probably
bacteria
depends on what kind of
dies in the
dishwasher you
heat.
have too. A newer one's probably
That's
going to be
true.
like, hey, do you want this to be surgery grade quality sanitation? Because we can make that happen.
I guess I would recommend to my homie to maybe let's get like a separate dishwasher, like one of the small ones that you can put on the side, and that can just be designated for it.
Yeah, I think that's what it boils down to, is like, let's keep this separated.
But
from
we'll run it a
everything else.
couple times with vinegar to get everything cleaned out.
Perfect. There you go. Problem solved. Awesome. Oh boy, do I not miss living with roommates.
No, not even a little bit.
And I didn't even really have bad situations. Like I had a pretty normal
I had
experience.
some bad ones.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, once my electricity bill was $700 in a 4-bedroom, because
Whoa.
these guys kept the heat at 90 degrees while they were hotboxing. I don't know how they might be dead. Like just smoking weed in a non-smoking apartment at 90 degrees.
Whoa.
It's crazy.
That is crazy.
I moved out of that place quick.
You're like, I don't talk to them anymore.
something. My next house, human pooping in litter boxes was a thing that was happening. Happened once, and it was a big problem that was addressed. Same person who didn't live in the house, by the way, but was over
it a
frequently,
joke or just like
I think so,
disorientation?
but it was not funny, and it wasn't. The cat was owned by not that person or their friend who lived in the house with us. And that same person, I believe, left an unattended gun out while we had a child living with us. And that 3 years of my life was kind of just that for a while.
Noah, I can see what shaped you to be the man that you are today? You are a man who's experienced a lot, which is why you're like, dildo in the dishwasher. We can work around that.
It seems like something that makes sense logically, but you need to have that conversation first.
Yeah, that's communication.
That's communication.
Well, it seems like you've learned a lot of life skills from
going
and living with other people, which leads us to our main topic, the meat and potatoes of this episode, which is games that accidentally taught us life skills without us even knowing it. We think back to it and you're like, man, I was playing all these games. I didn't want to learn, but God damn it, these things taught me stuff anyway, unintentionally. And some of these, you might even argue, may be even more valuable than some of the shit you learned at school. I don't know. We'll dig into it. We'll find out, So some things, general things you learn from games, consequences, failure, big one, teamwork, inventory management, huge. And what did we learn from school? What's the one thing everyone remembers from school? Mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell.
Of the smell.
It's like, okay, that's cool. So let's talk about this kind of in some different chunks. So let's start with resource management, which was a big one for me, and I didn't realize it until I started really thinking about this. One of the big ones for me was Diablo, the very first one, because I'm old. And that was the first game I played where it's like you just couldn't just pick up everything because it was one of the things where it's like there's little squares and the items would take up a certain amount of space and you have to try and do your own little Tetris thing. And even gold, like it would only hold the gold in like 5,000 coin chunks, and then it would start to fill up so you're like, you could even just have infinite gold. You had to be like, where am I going to store my gold?
Weight.
It wasn't necessarily weight. It was just
no encumbrance in the original.
There was no encumbrance. It was just like you can't fit all this stuff in. It was kind of weight in its own way. It's like you can't fit all this stuff in your little box that you had to do. And I was like, this is kind of wild. So you could go on a loot run, and you're just like, I want to pick up all this shit because I want to get out the money. Then all of a sudden you start seeing new stuff, and you're like, all right, what do I have to leave behind because I don't want to use a scroll of town portal to go back quite yet. And then you start realizing like, oh yeah, these gray items are garbage. These white items are garbage. These blue items are garbage. And you start to realize like what has the most value, so to speak.
Yeah.
And you start going through and just trying to figure out like, oh, I have to really prioritize what I'm picking up because I'm lazy and I don't want to go back to town.
And applying that to your real life.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah. Like all of a sudden I apply that. That's one of the things I try to apply to Natalie all the time. She's always like, can I bring this with us? And I'm like, I don't know. Can you? Do you want to? She's like, yes. I'm like, okay, but you are going to be carrying that. I am not.
Pockets are getting full.
I was just like,
you've already got a wallet in there.
Bring this big thing of markers and coloring books. I'm like, we're going 5 minutes. Why are you want to take this in the car? Like, I'm glad you want to draw, but I'm trying to drive that down to her. There's days where she has orchestra and she has to bring like her violin and all this other stuff. And she's like, Dad, can you meet me at the door and help me carry all this stuff? And I was like, how long you been doing this so far? I mean, how long we started school in September? And now I was like, you need to pack accordingly for your day.
This is something that has started to affect me recently.
Interesting.
As I have been opting to use my phone less, and cut down on subscriptions. So I don't have Spotify anymore. So I have an MP3 player. Yeah. Okay. Sorry, Doug.
No, honestly, best thing ever.
Canceled our family plan.
I was on a family plan with Noah, and I was like, when you were like, I'm going to quit, I'm like, I don't mind. I don't care. I was like, doesn't bother me, done. So,
but I have all my music on an MP3 player. And not only is this part of a bigger thing that I'm going to continue getting to, but it taking me back to the early 2000s of like manually getting music through means is interesting too, because like on Spotify, you just tap, add it to the playlist, bing, bong, boom. But when I have to do a task to actually get that music, I'm much more intentional about what I'm getting. I have to make more choice of like, yeah, I kind of like this song, but like if I'm only going to listen to it the once, I don't need to have it. So I don't need to go out of my way to then add on. But that's like a whole other thing that I've discovered through this process.
That's so
but
funny. Real quick, what you went through there is what I went through when Napster came out. because at the time we had CDs, right? You go and buy the CDs, and like Napster's available. I did the same thing. I would just download shit like crazy because I could, but I would never listen to it.
Right.
And so I got to the point where I'm just like, wait a minute, I should be more intentional about, do I really want to download this?
Exactly.
Do I really, because I'm like, I'm just not going to listen to the Limp Bizkit version of Mission Impossible 2. It's just not that good. You know, it sounded good in the trailer, but it's just not that good of a song to actually take the time to download at 55 kilobits a second on my
add something to my list real quick.
My dial-up internet, you know. Anyway, I cut you off. You were saying you were being more intentional.
Well, so just with being intentional, and also just trying to cut down on my things, has then turned into the need for more single-use devices and having more stuff. So I got a little man bag thing that can carry my Steam Deck and can carry my MP3 player and can carry a camera, like a digital. I don't know if I have it down here, but it's like an old school Kodak, right? Just like a really, really shitty digital camera that is intentionally shitty so that I can be, again, intentional about, oh, I want to take a picture of this thing. I'm not just going to like whip up my phone and take a picture of it, but like I want to remember it how I already remember all of the things that I'm nostalgic about in my life, because I am nostalgic for that like VHS era, grainy digital era sort of stuff. And so now I feel like I have an inventory. Like I've never been like a backpack guy or anything, but now I literally have this bag that has specific slots for specific things. And if it doesn't fit in that, it doesn't come with me. Has been a really interesting like shift that I've come into. And yeah, I think video games is a big part of that.
Was there a particular
like
game that like you think of when you think of inventory management that kind of relates to what you're doing right now?
I mean, Minecraft is like the big inventory game for me, which like was never a huge hyper intent. Like you go out on your task, like you're going into the mines or you're going out into the world and you come back when you're filled up. But I'm trying to think of a game that's like, no, I'm prepping myself with things, and I guess like I don't know, maybe we played that Dark and Darker for a little bit, or even like Arc Raiders now is a game that's like, okay, you have a limited space and you're going into the game using some of that space already, and then you can only come back with what you have space for. Is definitely something like that.
Yeah, that stuff definitely stresses me out as Practical Doug and things like that, being like, what exactly do I need? Because there's nothing worse than being like, fuck, I don't have what I need. Or I want to keep going and I'm like, it's not efficient for me to go back, but my inventory's full, so I have to go back. Or the idea of like, yeah, if you're going to go and do a fight or something, you're like, and if I die and I lose all my stuff, you know, do I bring my biggest, baddest stuff? Because I'm afraid I'm going to lose it. You know, like that's tough. That's what's interesting about EVE Online in a lot of ways, is like everything in that game can be destroyed. So if you're rocking the baddest ship with the best weapons and things like that, that's great. And you will probably do really well. But if your ship gets destroyed, it's destroyed. And you either have to rebuild it or purchase all that stuff again. So it's powerful, but it's like, do you want to use it? You know?
Yeah. And I think that like Fallout, Skyrim, like Oblivion, just like Elder Scrolls in general, like those games, the encumbrance is crazy. And it's interesting because like I'm trying to see if I can parse the lesson here, but it's like, yeah, I knew I couldn't carry everything in a house,
right?
But it does make me mad that when in a game I pick up a load of stuff and then I'm moving at a snail's pace because I'm carrying too much stuff. And I'm like, yeah, okay, I'll put the chair down and then I'm okay. But I do remember a lot of inventory management in the days of like Oblivion. Of going into a house, stealing everybody's food, and then I'm like, oh wait, but now I am full. Maybe that's where the eating disorder came from. I'm like, oh, I just have to eat all this food now. Yeah, I just gotta eat everything, and then I'm good, and then everything's fine.
Right, because if you eat it, then you got room for other things, right? You know. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, maybe that's not the life lesson.
Yeah,
we'll find it though. We'll find it throughout.
Definitely some hoarding tendencies in those kinds of games.
That's true, actually true.
You know?
Especially like your classic RPGs where you got your potions, your healing items, your booster items. I think I have maybe just like lost fights more in my life across every RPG I've ever played than like using a strength boost item.
Same.
and maybe I would have won if I had just used it, and it's still sitting on a memory card someplace unused. But
I distinctly remember Final Fantasy 2 on the Super Nintendo, getting to the end of the game and having like 99 mega elixirs because I just was like, I can't use them. I got to save them for the last fight of the game. It's like, you have 99 of them. Just action economy wise, it will be stupid for you to like try to use those all the time. But I just was like, I can't use them. It's
especially
like,
in a turn-based game.
100%.
It's more effective for me to deal damage than to try to sustain.
Right. So it was, yeah. So I think some of that carries over where you're like, well, I got to hoard my vacation days. You know, like I got to hang on to them. I only use them at the right time because whatever. And then before you know it, you're not using them.
I have Christmas and birthday cards from 2012 what if they know? What if they find out that I threw this away and I didn't even give a shit about it to begin with?
Oh, dude,
then it's just in the trash.
Sometimes
I can't bring myself.
Sometimes I just put them right in the recycling bin. I was like, I know what this is. I don't need it.
And that was what actually just like 3 weeks ago, I went through this second desk I have back here, which is where I stored most of that stuff, and I did end up throwing it away. But that is actually 15 years of stuff that I just like held on to. Yeah. I'm like, you know what? Some of these people I haven't even spoken to in a decade, so it's about time.
They're not going to know.
They're not,
and it's going to be okay. All right, let's move on to like grinding and work ethic. Basically, like the more you grind, you learn that it kind of pays off in some situations. Maybe
for me, only within the context of video games.
100%.
Video games taught me to play video games good, which is a life skill.
There are some so we take like JRPGs, right? For example, I was talking to Noah about this before we started, but like one of the games, like I'm very fond of Final Fantasy games, but the ones that I played, the very first one, the second one on Super Nintendo, the quote unquote third one on Super Nintendo, which is actually the sixth one. And then I watched my brother play Final Fantasy 7. However, he did let me play Final Fantasy 7 to help him with some of the grinding elements of it. If you're not familiar with games and what grinding is, basically it's going out and you're just like, I'm going to fight these guys until I level up. So you're just going out there doing lots of fights. You're grinding out there. You're trying to get this stuff going. And I would do stuff to help him boost up some of his characters, level them up, level up their spells. I took care of this like chocobo racing, like these birds that you'd race. I really enjoyed doing that. So I would do that when he wasn't around. I got him this golden chocobo, which allowed him to get some of the best items in the game and stuff like that. But there was a sense of like, well, if I really put myself into this, my guys are getting better. I'm seeing them. They're improved. They're getting stronger. They can take hits. They can deal the hits. They've maxed out their materia. So I can just like summon all sorts of shit and stuff like that. It was like, it feels good. You know, it's the same thing with like some MMOs like World of Warcraft. I played that for several years and I was like, you know, you're leveling up your person. You're like, hey, I'm going to max out my profession so I can like make this cool stuff. And this is where I'm going to share the story. I've told this story before, but I to this day, I feel really sad about it. But I had worked at the hotel and then I left the hotel to be a stagehand for about 2 weeks. While I was finishing up grad school. And then that thing did the stagehand thing didn't work out. So I had a lot of free time on my hands. And so I played World of Warcraft like 6-7 hours a day. Like Jill would be at work and I was at home and I was like, I got to make sure I'm done and off of here before Jill gets back because I can't let her thinking that I've just been playing games all day, even that I had. And at the time it was the Burning Crusade expansion. And there was this one particular like flying mount you could get, but it required literal weeks of grinding because you could only do a certain amount of daily quests per day to earn reputation with this particular faction to then unlock the ability to buy this thing. And I did it and I grinded it out and I was counting down the days. I'm like 3 more days, just got to grind 3 more days. And I would do it. And I finally got it. And I felt so hollow when I got it. And in fact, I felt embarrassed because I had it and I was like flying around and it's like you look at it and you're like, I know what you had to do to get that. Like that was a lot of time. And later on, like I took a break from the game. I came back. Your mount still existed. And I would pull that thing out and I'd look at it. I was like, oh dude, I remember what I had to do to get this, the grinding that I did.
And what's crazy is that video games now have the opposite problem where I look at somebody's skin and I say, I know you paid $50 real life dollars for that.
That is true.
In this now free video game.
Yeah. This free to play video game. I know you spent money on loot boxes.
And that's embarrassing.
Yeah. Loot boxes are just
as somebody who's probably spent close to $500 on Overwatch loot boxes between 2016 and 2021.
Yeah.
really embarrassing. Really, really embarrassing.
You're like, look at all this money I spent. You're like, oof, it doesn't feel good. However, there was some element to it of like, hey, I worked really hard, and or in some of those MMOs and things like that, like you're like, oh man, we spent a lot of time, we got ourselves leveled up, we got the right gear, and we beat this raid.
Yeah.
We beat this boss, and it feels really good because you worked together, you grinded it out, and you saw a reward.
You overcame
at the end of the day, and you try to apply that to real life, and I think I'm just getting more cynical and jaded these days, but I'm just like, all right, I killed 10 boars in World of Warcraft and I get some experience and maybe an item. I put in a 50-hour work week. It's like, what do I get at the end of that? I get burnout. I hate myself because I'm just like, I'm stressed over something that doesn't matter at the end of the day, but there are some times where you work really hard, like I'm trying to convince for that with Natalie right now, where she's learning violin and playing basketball and stuff like that. I'm like, listen, if you put in the work every day, 15 minutes or whatever, I'm like, you're going to see improvement. I'm just trying to teach her that there is.
I think that's more of the lesson in that. It's like, yeah, working or whatever is like a profession, is like, that's its own thing, but going and killing boars in World of Warcraft is a side thing that you do to improve in, yes, your fighting ability or to make yourself better. And I'd say you could apply that to like learning guitar or to doing like spending time doing a repetitive task in order to achieve an ultimate goal where like you need money.
Your grandmaster
that isn't
a
an
strategist
goal.
in World Rivals, like all that stuff matters.
Yeah. It's something that you want to do.
Right. Yeah.
And it can be fun.
So and part of it's like when you're younger, you're like, oh, this is fun. I'm doing this stuff. I'm getting better. But when you're an adult, you're like, this is kind of like my job. And I don't like this.
Yeah, that's something that I always kind of felt about RPGs. I never really cared for the grind of RPGs because even in Pokemon games, which are like as loose as a turn-based JRPG can be, you still would have to just go and execute little furry creatures to get XP. I don't really want to spend 2 hours doing that. Like, I was always one of the people that would just kind of breeze through, and if I lose a fight, I'll just come back to that fight later and try it again at my current level to see if like the RNG will get me through, or maybe I'll go do a couple battles to level up like once or twice. But I'm not trying to get, this guy's level 25 Onyx, and I'm only level 20 with my Pikachu. Yeah, it doesn't mix. It's a hard fight. But I mean, if I can't beat it and where I am currently, then I'm not good enough to beat it.
Yeah, it is what it is.
I want to go grind.
Yeah. I was the same way with Claire Obscure in the third act. There's just some guys where I'm like, I'm not going to fight this guy. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to win. I don't
plowed through that game. I beat that game so much faster than I thought I was going to, and I didn't do any side shit.
Yeah. Yeah, there's definitely
and not even necessarily because I wasn't trying to, but I also was kind of good at the combat by the end of it. Like I wasn't really taking damage and like just able to get through
like that. There were some guys I'm like, oh cool, I'm gonna fight this guy. I'm like, I don't like trying to figure out this fight at all. I'm good.
No, the first thing in that game that really like I was like, oh yeah, I think I'm at a point where I do just need to finish it. When I was like, I could go do some stuff. It was like as soon as you get to one of the last sections, I'm fighting this big boss that is just in the open world, but you can eventually go get to him, and I don't get to attack. He attacks for 10 minutes.
Right.
And then I'm like, I can't do this. This is nothing. This is going to be the next 5 hours of my life, and I'm literally working towards nothing.
Yeah,
so
when
like,
am I going to get the achievement that I'm like, I beat him,
But I think recognizing that is also a skill that perhaps games
is also,
have
I
taught.
think, a sign of you getting older. You're like, this isn't worth my time. When you have all day, every day as a kid, you're like, no, I'm going to beat this motherfucking guy. I'm like, man, I don't have time for this. I'm good. I'm good. So next up, let's talk about pattern recognition and systems thinking. So we're talking like games like Mega Man bosses were like some of the first one for me. Like, seeing how these enemies move and what is their weakness and what enemy do I need to get their power to then like fight them to be on an even playing field. Of course, you've got your Dark Souls games. Never play them. Never have. Never will. You got your puzzle games like Portal and Tetris, and of course your roguelikes, your Hades, Slay the Spire. You know, like all that sort of stuff. A lot of those things. I feel like it's really amazing over time how you just like, especially. I remember specifically, I think Mega Man 2 and Mega Man 3, I was really good at. Mega Man 1 was tough for me, but I got really good at those, and I just knew the order I had to go in to get certain bosses, to get their abilities, to then attack guys and understand, like, what are their... Well, again, Clear Obscura is another one, like pattern recognition, being like, cool, I got to know when to dodge, and can I pull off a parry here? I mean, it'll be better, but my margin of error is much smaller. So I think that sort of stuff and looking at that and being like, failure is almost part of the game, right?
Yeah.
Because you have to like gather data, fail, and then be like, all right, I'm going to try again.
Yeah.
Which I found to be like a nice, safe way to be like, hey, man, you're going to fail, and that's all right. That's kind of the point of the game, especially with games like Dark Souls.
Yeah. I mean, like roguelikes too. And that's something that some roguelikes really lean into, and others are like, this is just a game mechanic. Don't think about it too hard. But are like, yeah, every time you fail, it's a learning experience. Every time you get a little bit further, every time you learn a little bit more. And in some game or more rogue lights than rogue likes, you get to bring stuff back that can then aid you in your next journey. And I like that. I mean, I think that there is a lesson to be learned in that. And learning from failure is the big one. Is that yes, you're gonna get killed by Kronos over and over and over again.
Yes.
But then one of these days, you get to smite the Titan of Time, and it feels great.
Yeah.
And that's I think that's where a lot of people are now with like trying to find jobs. You fill out application after application. You learn what the AI gets like likes, and how to actually bypass it and get the actual application to a person. You learn how to interview, and ultimately, after failing over and over, maybe sometimes upwards of hundreds of times, you might get the job.
No, that's true. Like, and I'm trying to teach Natalie that a little bit. Like, I might be a little more hardcore than I probably should be. She's like, playing Super Mario Odyssey, and she's like, "Will you beat Bowser?" I'm like, "No, you have to beat him. Like, this is your quest. Like, what good comes from me beating him for you?" Like, I tell her, I go, "Listen, one of these days you're gonna beat him, and you're gonna do it all by yourself, and it's gonna feel great. You're gonna feel great as you do this. It's the same thing when we play Spider Hack." She's like, getting all mad that I beat her. I go, one of these days you're going to beat me, and I'm going to be so proud of you because you're going to do it all on your own, and you would have just outskilled me. You outclassed me, and you're going to do it. And failure, I think, is these kinds of games, honestly, helped me a lot in that regard of just being like, because in a lot of ways in society, they're like, oh, did you fail? You fucking loser. It's like, no, like everyone fails all the time. It's just, did you learn something from it?
Oh, yeah.
And when you learned something, did you gather the data? And then also, did you find a weakness? Did you find a loophole in that failure? Did you pick up something that you're like, I'm going to use this next time that's going to help me do better? It's almost to the point where you're like, you're seeing patterns in toxic relationships, right? You're like, ooh, that one didn't go well. I gathered some data. I know I don't like this. I know that, I get concerned when my roommate puts their sex toys in the dishwasher. I should make sure that we make that clear for the next one. They're like, hey, what are we putting in the dishwasher? Or just like trying to read vibes like enemy tells, right? Like you're sitting there like, these vibes
I think that's
seem
just
off.
autism.
You're like, well, I don't know. You're the good or bad at that.
I'm sitting in a situation. I'm thinking, is this person mad at me, or are they just very particular about a thing? I genuinely can't tell.
You're like, I don't know. But, I think that sort of stuff is super, super important. And I think especially the failure part of that, I think is learning by failing and creating a safe space to fail, I think is something that is sorely needed in our world today in a lot of ways, to be like, hey man, listen, you're not going to be perfect and it's okay as long as you learn something. Because that's where it's really at.
I think pattern recognition is really important too. Especially we kind of just glossed over like puzzle games and stuff, but the ability to understand the tools that you're given with a deep understanding of the tools that you're given, and in a situation where it like Portal, for easy example, you have a gun that makes orange, blue, Orange turns it, like you go through blue, come out orange. That's it. And just with that one simple tool, you can have some very extremely challenging situations to try to get yourself out of it in an escape room-esque thing. But it makes you think, if you're given a tool and context, that you can then put two things together to try to solve any problem, that knowing that tool will help you get out of that problem. And I think being able to do that in life is super important. Even just like cooking. It's like, okay, I have my tools. I need to understand what I can do with these tools to then create something to stave off or to escape the puzzle room that is my hunger.
My inventory management. But yes, and then the next thing too is just like emotional regulation and kind of hopefully losing gracefully. I know I've had my time playing games where I've lost my shit.
I've broken some controllers in my life.
Thankfully, I've never broken a controller. I've never put a hole in the wall. I've definitely hit my desk. I've definitely done one of these where I go like kind of like silent and like my whole body gets flexes as I like deal with the rage, and then I go and I let it out. But of course, Dark Souls is one of these games. I know you've played Celeste.
One of my favorite games, and the first time I played it absolutely was a challenge.
Yeah. And then, of course, you've got your competitive games, your Halos, your Smash, your Marvel Rivals, your Overwatches.
But it's never my fault in those instances. It's always the other people. Yeah, it's always everybody else's fault. And that is what's most frustrating, is because I'm doing what I'm supposed to.
Your job.
And they're not.
Yeah, that's the worst, is when like something isn't good. The team's not winning. You immediately are like, who's the fucking weak link? And you just go, you turn it all Lord of the Flies. Like, which one?
But genuinely also, like, an important thing to learn is self-responsibility and being able to say, oh, I am the problem in this situation.
100%. One, knowing where your skill set and what the team requires of you so that you can help the team be successful, and understanding that, like, yeah, doing a lot of damage is pretty cool, but maybe you're not as good as someone else at that.
But if you're just shooting the tank that's getting pocket healed, you're just wasting value. You're not doing anything useful.
Right. And maybe, listen, being a sniper is pretty cool, but maybe we don't need a sniper right now. Unless you're absolutely decimating a lane or taking people out of the game or whatever, maybe find something else to do to help your team. There's a reason why I typically play support or healers, because I'm like, I want to keep people alive the best way that I can. Because if I can heal people and I keep them alive, then they can go and do all the punching and smashing and shooting stuff that I'm not as good at anymore.
Yeah,
I'm going to be 43. I'm just like, I don't have that skill set anymore. I'm like, I can heal you though. I'll pop a bubble and you can hop in there and I'll keep you alive as best I can. But that's about all there is.
That's what I appreciate about you.
I'm just like, hey, I'm a support dude through and through, So getting frustrated, obviously, in real life happens all the time, right? Like realizing like, hey, I'm about to rage quit, I think, in real life. And you're like, wait a minute, I gotta figure out how to manage these emotions, because I can't literally just like hit escape and leave the game. Like, I still have to be in this workplace.
There was some, it has been interesting, because I think I can watch that evolution in my own life, from when I was 12 and playing Sonic 06, which is a famously really bad, poorly designed made game that is really hard because it's so poorly made, and breaking an Xbox controller. Wow. And now playing games that are intentionally hard, going in knowing that they're difficult. My wife and I have been going through Deltarune again together, and that game is not particularly difficult, but there are some secret bosses that are extremely difficult, that are intentionally a challenge. And the other night when we were playing, I was, I'd lose after like a pretty long attempt at one, and I go, fuck. And she'd look up after being like, okay, right. And I'd be like, okay, I'm gonna take 2 seconds, and we're gonna have a conversation real quick of like, okay, if you don't want to be here for this, you don't need to be. because this is what tonight's going to be for me now. I'm so locked in on this. I don't know if I'm even going to be able to do this tonight. I know you're here for the story and to get that experience. I don't know if that's going to be happening tonight. This is for me. So if you don't want to be here and you don't want to see me frustrated, I will try to control myself while you're here. But if you're going to go, this is going to be my night. And being able to do that is cool, to be able to recognize that, like, okay, I'm actively putting myself in a frustrating situation. So the ability to look outside of that for a second and know there are other people here. It may not be super appropriate for me to just be pissed off. I can leave that situation or I can stay in it, and that's okay, and be okay either way.
Yeah, for sure. And I would also say that something else that this taught me was that, especially when you're playing competitive with other people or playing online and doing multiplayer stuff, you realize that, oh, I used to play with people that live on the block. And I'm good in my group of friends that I play GoldenEye with, but then you get online and you're like, you're mediocre at best, bro. So,
yeah, that was when they put online into fighting games. Really made me feel inferior to the rest of the gaming community. I was like, yeah, I could play Smash Bros with my friends and like not lose every game, but I still think we're all pretty good. I just get absolutely destroyed.
Yeah. It's always interesting when that happens. It humbles you, and it's a good thing to be like, I'm not going to be awesome all the time. And I'd also say,
but not getting discouraged by that, but not saying, okay, well, there's all these people that are immediately better than me, so that I shouldn't be doing it at all. So you still have enjoyment at your level, and maybe get better if you'd like to get better.
And I'll say, if you can handle failing online and getting the vitriol that gets thrown at you after you failed or missed your skill shot or done whatever it is you're going to do.
Fat fingered your ultimate.
And you have the chat blow up and call you all everything under the sun, and you can survive that. You can survive anything.
Yeah. If you can be a woman on the internet.
Yeah.
You can survive off the internet.
Exactly.
It's pretty rough out there.
It's rough out there. All right. Last one here. We'll move this one a little bit along here. Is teamwork, leadership, and being carried. This kind of goes hand in hand with what we were talking about, but games like Overwatch, Destiny raids, Left 4 Dead, I'd say even World of Warcraft in some situations with that too, is this like you're collaborating with people, you're communicating with people is so huge in those games too. Like you have to be able to communicate with people, knowing when you're the weak link. We kind of just talked about this, and essentially being able to synchronize with a team in a way that I don't think any group project in school ever would have prepared me for than trying to rush B on Counter-Strike, and try to make sure we're defusing the bomb and hitting flashbangs and everything like that. Like nothing will ever top the amount of coordination, teamwork.
The thing that I think of with this is Call of Duty Zombies. Which, like, base level is just an arcade game. You're just shooting zombies. You're trying to survive to the highest round or whatever. But those games had the special Easter eggs. So like me and my friend group as a kid, we'd get on the couch and be up till super, super early in the morning, just trying to okay. I got the one I got the one walker that we're just trying to like kite so that we can go do other stuff in the meantime. Like, okay, I got this staff and I got to go up into the giant robot so that like I can get the piece for my staff. And then we get all the staffs together. We can then proceed to the next plot beat. And it's like all very coordinated, and you have to know the steps. And it is kind of like, you got to know what you're doing, and you got to trust the people that you're with, and you have to execute.
Honestly, you think about it, you come up with a strategy, you communicate, and you execute. Just like you said, I was like, get out of here, college group projects. No way. No way. Does that come close to what I used to have? I used to joke that I was like, if I ever owned a company and I had people having managers, I would say, we're going to have a standard, either just computer or game console. And I go, as team building, you have to have two of your teammates do Portal 2. You have to go in there and be like, you two have to work together to get as far as you can in 30 minutes. And that is going to be like, this is how we're going to work. We're going to communicate. We're going to solve problems together. That's going to make us
a great idea.
As part of the interview process, it's like, let's see how well you work with people.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. Well, let's listen. Let's kick this over to some of the folks in the Discord. You can over to
submissions.
youtube.com/mindgappodcast and check the link in the description to our Discord, where I posted a poll out there just saying, what's the most useful life skill video games accidentally taught you? And it looks like this was split between pattern recognition and problem solving and failure tolerance. Talistar said, dude, holy failure tolerance was a huge thing I had an issue with as a kid. But once I started Halo 3 and did Batman Arkham series on hard as an 11-year-old, it taught me that failing is okay real quick. And Slotty said, I always tell people that my superpower is pattern recognition. I don't know how much of it was innate and how much of it came from thousands of hours of games, but I'm going to give games at least some of the credit. It's the one thing that has helped me to excel in nearly anything I've ever excelled at.
Yeah, I think pattern recognition is a really big one. Failure tolerance too. Those are probably would be my two personal ones as well. Is just with how many roguelikes and very challenging platformers I've played. Failure is a big part of both of those genres of games, and they're the ones that I gravitate towards. But that pattern recognition too helps with not only playing games and getting better at games, but just life stuff too. Just being able to read a situation or be able to understand a way that a thing works. Yeah. Whether it's people or it's a task or an animal or like any of those things is just like, it's just good. It's just good life knowledge to have. For sure. Totally agree. So let us know. youtube.com/mindgappodcast. Hit us up in those comments and ask you and answer the question like, what's a real life skill you learned from a game that school completely failed at? We'd love to hear from you in those comments, or join the Discord and drop your answer down there. We'd love to hear all about that. All right, now it's time to move on to our game segment. And I always get excited when I have guests because I try to tailor a game specifically for them. And the last time Noah was here, just the two of us, I did a little fact or fiction game with him that was specifically around Dragon Ball Z and Sonic the Hedgehog. This time, it's all about Overwatch because Noah, if you don't know, is a bit of an Overwatch guy. He knows a thing or two. You may have you were on an episode a while back where you're talking about Overwatch 2, and what to expect before it came out. You know what's crazy? What's that? There's an event happening for Overwatch this Wednesday. Mm-hmm. And it seems like they're dropping the 2. So that's what's happening. Like, if the my time on this podcast has been the updates on the state of Overwatch, it's that we're basically back to 1. And I want to put a pin on that for a future conversation about how we really feel about that and whether or not we feel scammed. But here's what we're going to do. I'm going to present you with some statements, and you have to tell me whether they're fact or fiction. Simple as that. And then if we have enough time, I've got a lightning round that's focused on the heroes about whether or not they're fact or fiction. So here we go. First one. This one's about lore. Reaper's body is canonically unstable because his cells are constantly dying and regenerating. Is that fact or fiction? I think that is a fucking fact. That's correct. That's one of the reasons why he can like ghost around and everything like that, is because ghosting about. He's ghosting about because he is unstable with that sort of stuff in more ways than one. Am I right? And that's why he can make guns. That's right. He shoots instead of reloading. He just throws his guns down and pulls 2 new ones, 2 shotguns out of his chest, out of his holes. That's how it works. All right. Now we're going to focus a little bit on gameplay. This is specifically about a mechanic part about gameplay here. Roll queue was originally introduced as a temporary experiment. So for folks who don't know, originally when you logged into this game and you wanted to play, you could just select tank, DPS, healer, whatever. It didn't matter. You could do all tanks, you could do all healers, didn't matter. But at some point, they did introduce roll queue where they locked in a specific amount of number of roles that you could play in the game. So was this originally, the statement is roll queue was originally introduced as a temporary experiment. Is that fact or is that fiction? I believe if my history is correct, that role queue was introduced to combat the problem that the character that I still play today made,
Is that
Brig,
Brig?
because it was a response to the problem. I think it just happened. I think they
Mhm.
just introduced role queue into the game without an experimental period.
So this is a fictitious statement.
Okay.
Roll queue was initially introduced with a 2-week beta season to gather feedback. This ran in the fall of 2019. It was not introduced as a temporary experiment, but as a permanent major structural change to the game. So you are correct, sir. That is fiction. Well done.
2 for 2. 2 for 2.
Okay, here we go. This is an Overwatch 2 statement. So let's
Overwatch 2,
see.
Overwatch
Or I'm
2,
sorry, it should be
Overwatch
just
2.
Overwatch pretty soon. Anyway, Overwatch 2 was initially pitched internally as a PvE first game with PvP changes added later. So let me say it again. Overwatch 2 was initially pitched internally as a PvE first game with PvP changes added later. Is that fact or is that fiction?
The wording here is incredibly particular.
Yes.
Because Overwatch 2 was pitched as a PvE rebrand of Overwatch with changes to the core multiplayer PvP game mode as well. I don't know if I'm certain what their internal scheme was, because a little extra lore. The game was always meant to be a PvE experience.
Mhm.
It was originally designed to be. I'm not necessarily sure it was meant to be like an MMO.
I think
but,
it was, if I remember correctly.
Something more focused like that.
Mhm.
I'm gonna say that's fact.
It is fact. That's correct. It was. They basically were like, we're gonna make this PvE focused, and they sure
Jeff
didn't do that.
Kaplan always wanted it to be that.
Yeah, but we don't always get what we want, do we?
And he never got what he wanted.
Nope. So, all right, let's talk hero design. Tracer was almost removed from the game late in development because she didn't fit the tone. Is that fact or is that fiction?
Oh. That has to be fiction.
You are correct. That is fiction. There was a notable controversy.
Yes.
Because of one of her victory poses, which basically just like all ass.
Her ass was too fat.
Yeah, it was all ass. It was the victory pose over the shoulder.
2016 was an extremely different time.
Yes, it was.
Compared to where we are now with a lot of things, but like video games specifically and that sort of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, just if you've hopped on Marvel Rivals lately, I mean, sheesh. Jesus Christ. All right. Well done. That was fiction. All right. Let's talk about maps. Every escort and hybrid map canonically represents a real-time Overwatch mission. Is that fact or is that fiction?
I'm gonna go with fiction because they've never really spoken on what they actually are, like what the gameplay actually is. My own headcanon is that they are training, that it's like training simulations, which is actually canonically what Halo multiplayer is combat training for Spartans. Hilarious. And I think that it's probably something similar for Overwatch, but because that's my headcanon, I am saying that no.
I think there are certain things where, like, if you think about the story, there are some elements of some of the maps that make sense. Like you're trying to escort Doomfist's, gauntlet.
And then I think they're just representations of what's happening in the world, but they're not meant to be.
But not everyone fits that's necessarily that thing. So that is a fictional statement. Well done. All right, let's do some hero lore here. Zenyatta and Ramatra were originally conceived as the same character. Is that fact or is that fiction?
I don't know. I was about to say no, they were made by Anubis, which is no, I don't know. I'm going to say no. I'm going to say fiction.
That's correct. It is fiction. While Ramatra and Zenyatta share a close lore connection as monastic brothers who both trained under the Shambhali in Nepal, they were not conceived of the same character in development. Ramatra was originally a war machine who became a monk before leaving to form Null Sector, while Zenyatta is a dedicated teacher of tranquility. So, well done. All right. Here we go. Mechanics. 5v5 was chosen partly because modern players were statistically less likely to protect tanks.
Oh, protect tanks? I would say that they went to 5v5 because nobody wanted to play as tanks. So I'm going to say fiction.
This one was kind of weird because it's depending on how you want to like parse this. It could be either, but I'm going with fiction. The move from 6v6 to 5v5 in Overwatch 2 was primarily driven by extremely long queue times for damage players, which were caused by a severe shortage of players willing to play the tank role. Yeah. Additionally, Blizzard developers explained that Overwatch 2 PvP moved to 5v5 due to the power of tank heroes in the game. And powerful tank synergies have often been oppressive and made Overwatch incredibly difficult to balance. So they figured cutting one of the tanks out would make everything a little more streamlined. So,
which they've semi-undone also.
Yes. All right. We got two more here. Let's talk about cinematics. Ooh. Overwatch cinematics were never meant to directly advance the main timeline. Is that fact or is that fiction?
I think that's fact.
Okay. It's actually fiction.
Okay. Because
go ahead.
I've watched all of them many times, but I'd say that none of them, with the exception of the most recent one that they did, which was in 2022 or whatever, when 2 launched, they all are kind of establishing lore or talking about like, here's what's going on in the present of this world, but aren't necessarily pushing the plot forward, just expounding upon the existing lore, and here's where we are now. But that's interesting. That's cool.
No, it's interesting.
I wish they would still do them.
I agree. Honestly, the fact that Blizzard never just made a goddamn show like Arcane out of their stuff just blows my mind to this day. Like, supposedly
there was supposed to be like a Netflix deal or something, and that fell through when Blizzard was facing big controversy.
Yeah.
And maybe something is happening again.
What a missed opportunity.
Hard to say.
While some cinematics are flashbacks or origin stories, the overarching goal of the cinematic program has been to tell the Overwatch story, not just provide isolated backstory. So I think some of them help push that stuff. Like, you see some of what's the hacker Lady Sombra. You know, some of that stuff pushes it forward. All right, here we go. Blizzard has publicly admitted that Overwatch struggled because its success came faster than its long-term planning. Is that fact or is that fiction?
I think that's true.
That is very true. It's very true. Blizzard developers and leadership had admitted through various interviews, postmortems, and most notably Jason Schreier's book, Play Nice, The Rise and Fall of Blizzard Entertainment, that Overwatch, both 1 and 2, struggled because its rapid, massive success and the demands of its live service nature outpaced their long-term planning, infrastructure, and staffing.
Yeah.
So let that be a note to you live service cucks out there. Think about it before you do it. So. All right. Well, we'll save the lightning round for another time. But you did excellent, man. I think you only missed one. That was fantastic.
Yeah, I've put far too much time and effort into this game and this world.
I mean, this came out in 2016, right? Is that when the game came out and you've been playing it?
10 years.
Since launch? 10 fucking years. That's wild. That's wild. All I remember from the first bit of it, and I've told you this before, is I just played this game by myself. I didn't have any friends to play with. And I just do quick match by myself with randos, and I'm like, this game's fun, right?
We were kind of talking about it in the Discord a couple of days ago, but Battleborn came out at the same time as Overwatch, and I was actually the guy that was on that hype train. I was like, yeah, Battleborn looks awesome. These character designs are sick. It basically looks like Overwatch, but I just kind of prefer this game, the way that this game is run and the art style. And like, I was really on the Borderlands 2 hype train, and it was Gearbox. So I was like, cool, this is my game. And then the handful of friends that I had that would have played that game got Overwatch. And I was like, okay, then that's what I'll do.
Yeah. Yeah, I had no the only person I would have played with was my brother, but he played on console with his friends. So I was just by myself and I didn't know anybody. I didn't know all you cool people yet. So I was just like, I'll just play randos and quick match.
Yep. Hop on my Reaper.
Sad time. Anyway, that was fantastic. Well done, Noah. Well done. I appreciate you
Thank you.
humoring me as I do these little games for you. But as we wrap up here, what do you got to recommend this week?
Oh my God. On the subject of video games, I've been really fucking with Deltarune. I really do think that we have a lot of RPG folks in our Discord and listeners. I think everybody's got to play this game. It really, really is fantastic, and I really don't think that Undertale is a prerequisite.
Okay.
I think Undertale is a great game that I also recommend playing, but I do really think that everybody should give Deltarune a crack. It's not done yet, but it's halfway done.
There you go.
And I think that where it's at currently is a really good, like, oh, if this is the first game, then the rest of Deltarune will be the second game. And if you're okay with that mindset, it truly is like a one-of-a-kind gaming experience. It's hilarious. All of the music is amazing. And again, like I said earlier, it's not too terribly difficult, while still positing an interesting challenge and an interesting gameplay loop. Also, Survivor Season 50 starts in a couple weeks. So be ready for that.
Jesus Christ. Wow. Sometimes everything should end. Am I right? I'm going to recommend Bugonia. I finally landed on it. I watched it and I've just been marinating on it. It's a film starring Emma Stone, and I forgot the other main actor's name in it. But very interesting film. I remember watching the trailer for it. I'm like, this seems kind of wild. But it's really good. I think it's currently on Peacock streaming. But it's worth checking out. It's very, very well acted and interesting, and it was really interesting. A little like a bottle film. Mm-hmm. Doesn't go too many places, but like it works very well with what it does. It's definitely a more artsy film, so don't go in thinking, and I knew that going in. And I remember I watched about half of it and then I took a break because I think I played some Marvel Rivals or whatever. And I was just like, I think I need to take a break from this for a second. And then I came back and finished it. And I'm like, that's pretty good. It's pretty good. Yeah. It's a pretty good film. I recommend checking it out. It's worth watching and talking about. I think it's a worthy film. So be sure to check that out. All right. With that, I'll say, hey, everyone. Thank you so much for watching. As always, youtube.com/mindgappodcast. Like, subscribe, leave us a comment, help that algorithm. We'd really appreciate it. Check the link in the description for links to our Discord, links to our Patreon, links to our merch at Redbubble. And then, of course, check us out wherever you listen to your podcasts. Rate, review, leave a comment, and then share us around, of course. Let us know. Let other people know we exist. We greatly appreciate it, whether it's, a short or a clip or a full episode. Just be like, hey, I think you're going to like this. For all those gamers out there, you're like, yeah, I feel like I did learn something. Or someone who's a gamer, send them this episode. Maybe they'll have some insight about maybe what they learned more from video games than they did with school. Think about that. And of course, Noah, thank you so much for hopping in here. It's always a pleasure chatting with you and getting a chance to spend more time just shooting the shit with you, brother.
Well, yeah.
Well, with that, I'll say, Noah, thank you.
Doug, thank you.
Listeners, viewers, thank you. And you all have a dandy fucking week.
Mind Gap Podcast.